Hello everyone, this is part 7 of What If Naruto Was Born in the Uzumaki clan, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. The rains wildly thrashed against the badly shaking window of the abandoned building. The walls groaned, their weak foundations barely holding against the rough winds blowing across the entire area. Outside, the ruins of a small village could be seen with destroyed houses and abandoned landscape. Occasionally an animal would pass by scavenging for food, but no people. It was just another one of Am's ghost villages. A legacy of the previous ninja wars. A proof of their nation's failures to protect their own territories and people against foreign oppressors. But it would change. Conan's fists clenched as she felt the pang of guilt and anger burn brightly in her heart. Seeing the destruction her nation had suffered time and again at the hands of other villages always made her hate them. And now another war was about to start. Am was again in danger, although their enemies didn't want to simply loot their hands but eat their nation and its people. Unacceptable. She knew her people had failed in protecting themselves in the past, but if not anything else she was going to do everything in her power to protect them. It was her mission. Yet even in her brief period as a proud Kunoichi she had to perform tasks that made her uncomfortable, but she did it for her nation regardless as a loyal soldier. Her gaze shifted towards the whimpering boy in the corner. He was muttering incoherent words in sleep, he was drenched in sweat, his hands restlessly thrashing around or occasionally flaying upwards as if he was trying to stop something or someone. It was pitiful. When she had first fought against Naruto Uzumaki, she had never imagined a ninja with such power and potential would have demons of his own. But she was wrong. Spending time around him, observing him, watching him regularly visit the cemetery where the Uzumaki memorial was created, seeing him suffer through a hellish nightmare right now was enough proof for her to see that the boy was broken. A damaged weapon that was desperately trying to find purpose again, to find something to fight against. It went to show that there was more to this boy than being a simple attack dog which she had initially thought him to be. He was an interesting target, she had to give him that. When Hanzo gave her the mission to get close to this boy, she didn't understand why. Naruto was not her type. At first she imagined him to be nothing more than an acquaintance. But the small coffee they had shared, the conversation they had showed that he shared a similar past to her own. Someone who could relate to what she felt about everything. And watching him interact freely with Akeno numerous times made her even more curious and determined to get to know him. Primarily for her mission's sake, and also to satisfy her own curiosity. Her thoughts were interrupted when he woke up with a loud scream. Fortunately the silencing seals he had placed around their room hours ago before going to sleep kicked in and didn't let their silence break. And Conan couldn't help but think that Naruto knew such a thing could happen to him and made precautionary actions to safeguard them and maintain their stealth, even if they were yet to encounter enemy forces. She walked towards him, kneeling down she placed a hand on his shoulder and felt him flinch. The gazes met, and she saw for the first time a small glimpse of the horrors he had seen and committed. The pain and regret he lived with every day. It's over, said Conan soothingly. He looked away, clearly embarrassed for letting her see him in such a state. He actually looked a little cute while he sulked. Thanks, he replied awkwardly, as she removed her hand and helped him get back on his feet. Naruto awkwardly stretched his muscles, earning him a few cracks as his muscles made the complaints clear to him for sleeping on the cold floor. But then again, there was no bed in the abandoned house, so there was no choice. He walked around and grabbed his flask, hungrily drinking water from it. She simply observed him and apparently he caught her staring at him for longer than necessary. What? He grouched. Nothing. It's just strange, seeing you said Conan hesitantly, not finding the right words to express her thoughts. Having nightmares. I'm a freak, but still a human in the end, he whispered faintly, and went back to drinking his water. Conan felt bad. Most of the time she thought about how this person could be used to satisfy Am's needs, how his powers could help her people. She never spared a thought to think that he might have problems like any other person. She decided to rectify her mistake. Have you talked about it with anyone? With Akeno or Nagato? They're your friends, suggested Conan, and saw him give her an amused look. And then he laughed, making her eyebrows twitch. He was frustrating to the core. Few hours later, when the rest of the team arrived at the rendezvous point, they found Naruto and Conan dressed in their battle gear and studying a newly sketched map. Finally, thought you guys would take more time to get here, grumbled Naruto. Akino rolled her eyes. Nagato and the boys simply shrugged. Inwardly, Naruto was satisfied. If the ninja tolerated his remarks so easily, then it must mean that his friends must have had a decent discussion with them. Judging from the way Nagato was easily standing beside Yahiko showed the start of a potential friendship. Daibatsu was aloof like before but less hostile as well. Although Naruto didn't like the lingering looks Kyusuke shot towards an oblivious Akino sometimes. He might have to remedy the situation later. For now, they had a crucial mission to finish. You scouted the valley or the enemy? Asked Akino curiously, as the team circled around the map. Both actually. Conan scouted the ambush zone and created this map, while I went ahead and observed the enemy camp for a few hours. There are roughly 100 of them. Judging from their arms and the way they conducted themselves, these guys are low-level ninjas useful as a horde. I sneaked inside their camp, and probably made a subtle suggestion in the enemy commander's mind to march through the valley at midnight, said Naruto, a predatory grin visible in his eyes. You know you could have K the commander, suggested Kyusuke. No, you idiot. That would have put the enemy forces at high alert. Be a ninja for once and act from the shadows, scolded Naruto harshly, and the other boy lowered his head a little in embarrassment. Naruto, do you think if we do what we plan to these guys Iwa will back off? Asked Yahiko honestly, looking his leader straight in the eye. For a while, yes. Permanently, doubtful, replied Naruto frankly. Grim looks were exchanged across the squad. Something which Naruto didn't miss but allowed since he wanted these ninjas to accept the harsh truth. Tell us what we have to do then. The team was actually surprised when Daibatsu spoke in his rough voice. Naruto looked into the boy's eyes, sneaked a small glance into his mind and grinned devilishly when he saw the boy wanted to do anything to protect even his very soul if needed. Nagato had the same look, Conan as well. Kyusuke would do what he would be ordered to. He may have doubts but the boy didn't have the balls to oppose the group decision or Hanzo's orders. But it was Yahiko and Akino that worried him. He could see it in their eyes, the innocence. More so in Yahiko's and less in Akino's, but it was there. Still, he had to have faith that they would follow his orders. Naruto frowned. This was the reason he didn't like to work in large teams, too many people to depend on. His minions in the Akatsuki would do anything he said, no questions asked or BK in return. But he couldn't do that to these ninjas, which was highly frustrating. Still, in a way, he was looking forward to this mission. Iwa had also been one of the villages that had participated in destroying a zoo, and they were going to pay for that. If not more than Konoha. The pain, the sadness, the despair Iwa had inflicted on his clan was going to be returned back tenfold. It was time for his revenge. Here's the plan. Heavy rains continued to fall from the skies that night, the moon long since concealed in the shadow of the dark clouds marking the world in pitch darkness. The weather was extremely cold, even so small rumblings echoed through Am's lands as a group of nearly 100 Iwa shinobi defiantly charged through its territory. At the front was a tall, bulky man. More than 6 feet in height and with a frame that could crush normal people, the man led the soldiers behind him. His sword resting peacefully on his back and a determined expression set in the eyes of Shirazu Nakamura. Being a newly promoted Junin, this mission was extremely important for his career. If he ever wanted to restore his family's lost honor. His father and brothers faced defeat at Konoha's hands in the previous war and had surrendered to the enemy. They were taken prisoners of war and under interrogation they cracked and offered critical intel that caused Iwa a lot of damage. Their countrymen never forgave that betrayal, and Shirazu's entire clan was ostracized. His mother and a few of his cousins committed unable to live with the social banishment. But now it would all change. He had worked hard for years, done everything asked of him by his superiors. Enough to get himself noticed by the wise old Tsuchikage. The man had promoted him and even given him command. If he could capture a large chunk of territories, then his family honor would be restored and he could live with dignity among his people again. He only wished that his leader had given him better soldiers to carry out the mission. Shirazu frowned on seeing the grumbling among his men, and couldn't help but curse the Junin commander for giving him the weakest of Iwa shinobi. Most of these punks were chunin, high on bravado and arrogance than actual competence. Fortunately for them, Am was a poor, weak village with no credible shinobi except for a select few and their leader. None of whom would be out here on the border. The Junin became more alert when he saw the approaching valley in front of him. He signaled his men, who begrudgingly stopped their chatting, liking their leader even less than before. If they ever had liked him to begin with, Shirazu's reputation was well known in Iwa and most shinobi avoided him like plague. To think such a ninja gained command was the ultimate insult, but in Iwa you follow orders or face E. Shirazu prayed to Izanagi, the creator, to grant him strength to see this mission through. As his company started passing through the valley, Shirazu felt the weather getting even more cold. The darkness increasing, which reduced his vision to less than 5 feet in front of him. Why was it so dark here? His senses didn't detect any enemy presence, which was a relief, but it was still hard to navigate through this depressing hole of a valley. What was that? Yelped one of his chunin. Shirazu rounded and made a quick glance across his surroundings. He didn't see anyone or felt any presence, so he gave a glare to the nervously fretting chunin. Shut your mouth, Nagi, or you'll piss your pants, barked Shirazu. Many other soldiers laughed as the poor guy looked down in embarrassment. The company started their charge again, only this time Shirazu was observing his surroundings more acutely. Something was strange here, he could feel it in his gut. He focused his senses. Since he couldn't see much ahead, he decided to rely on his ears and nose. At first there was nothing, but on closer attention he picked that up. Faint whispers, lurking in the shadows, but growing with every passing second. Company, alert, yelled Shirazu, unleashing his sword quickly. He was but a second late as the cry of 1,000 animalistic creature-like voices blew all across the valley. The sound sent vibrations all across the bee of the Iwa shinobi. It was so primal, so foul, so evil. However, what came next broke their company into full panic. A mass of dark shadows leapt from the top of the valley, surging hundreds of foot at speeds not possible for humans. Shirazu saw the lone red eye at the front of the shadow. His shock paralyzed him as the shadows grabbed 2 of his men. Their screams rang across the entire valley as they disappeared into the darkness, never to be seen again. Just when he thought the worst was over, several dark paper-like objects rained from the skies at lightning speed. Shirazu could only helplessly watch as 30 of his men were killed before they could even scream. A group of his soldiers started running back towards the entrance of the valley in panic. However, they had barely ran 20 steps before scorching red flames erupted from the wetlands and burned them alive. The rest of Iwa's soldiers shakily gripped their weapons, the desperate eyes searching for any enemy to retaliate at, even as they watched so many of their comrades be brutally burned alive. Their screams tearing through the survivors' hearts. Regroup, circle formation, barked Shirazu. A demonic laughter was heard across the valley, and suddenly the darkness in the area lurched towards the group of 60 Iwa survivors. Slowly the darkness retreated and the sight waiting the remaining survivors broke the last of their resolve. This was not human, but the mark of an animal. Or a demon. The level of barbarism not seen since the initial age of mankind. When the dark smoke returned with a vengeance rushing towards his small group, all of them saw visions of the brutal deaths. Shirazu even tried to break it, thinking this to be a genjutsu, a horrible dream he was supposed to wake up from, but when nothing changed he felt his heart leap in panic. Run! He yelled. What the hell is happening? Demons. Monsters. Ghosts. The ghosts. Captain Shirazu, the seer moving. Shirazu looked behind and his face lost all color when he saw his comrades started to crawl towards them. Even those without limbs limped. The ones who were crucified struggled against the kunais that had embedded them to the post and taken their lives. All their eyes pitch black and giving inhuman screams. He swiftly turned away, desperately wanting to get out of these god-forsaken lands. To be away from these demons, this hell. The dark smoke still pursued him and the remaining 15 Iwa shinobi running alongside him. His men were still screaming as the dark smoke got closer and closer. Suddenly Shirazu heard the sound of water up ahead. Squinting his gaze, he saw a small lake at the end, on the opposite side of which was the end of the hellish valley. He sighed in relief. Nearly half of his men saw the end of their nightmare and ran ahead at full speed, hoping to save their lives. To everyone's horror, When the group of Iwa shinobi stepped on the lake, all of them fell swiftly inside the water. Seconds later, B floated across the peaceful lake and forms of human souls emerged screaming from the lake, which were quickly consumed within the darkness. Slowly a figure emerged from the water, its feminine body drenched in the B of the Iwa shinobi K inside the lake. Her bright silver hair swirled in the air like a raging demon, her dark eyes and that monstrous smile shined brightly as she gestured a hand towards Shirazu and his last 4 soldiers. Come. Join us. Shirazu yelped on seeing the army of C getting nearer to his group, effectively trapping them. Nagi, Kuru, Shiro, Haru, Manji formation, said Shirazu in a trembling voice. Don't worry, senpai. Shirazu turned towards the Chunin. Something in the man's voice was strange, and when he saw that mad smile, Shirazu knew something horrible had happened. The rest of his 3 comrades had their own kunais pointed at their T, and had the same crazy smile like Nagi. As if they were possessed. Shirazu fell on his knees as he watched the last of his men apart their own end madly with smiles on their lips. Their B spilled all over him, and after a few gurgling sounds their C hit the cursed lands for a final time, never to rise again. The Iwa commander trembled from head to toe. The army of UC had surrounded him, the angel of death still urging him to join her in the lake of death, and the massive dark shadow with the single red eye loomed dangerously over him. He felt the last of his energy and will fade away from his body along with his sanity. Shirazu screamed. Domino Squad was in a state of shock. Their eyes raking in the inhuman they had wreaked on the enemy. Their retching had long since stopped, yet they couldn't understand just how could Naruto remain so composed and instruct the broken Iwa commander who was now completely nuts. Their squad leader was defiantly making the man go even more crazy, believing his soldiers were K by demons and ghosts, and Am was a cursed land never to be touched. By the time Naruto was finished with his manipulation, Shirazu was nothing more than a husk. A shell of person left behind who limply started walking back towards Iwa's borders. When that was done, Naruto instantly turned and sent Yahiko crashing with a devastating punch across the face. Shockingly, not a single team member made any move to intervene. Maybe it was for the shock they were in or the gaze in Naruto's eyes as he cornered the trembling boy. None of that mattered at all. You had one job, Yahiko. One. And you screwed it up, risked the entire mission. Yelled Naruto angrily. I couldn't do it, replied Yahiko sadly, tears arriving in his eyes even as Naruto grabbed him by the collar. Everybody did their part. I and Conan initiated the attack as shadows and paper weapons. Nagato burned those men alive with his trap seals. Daibatsu brutally those men when they got trapped in my smokescreen. You were supposed to crucify them. But you failed and Nagato was nearly overwhelmed. Kyusuke created that lake and worked with Akeno to those Iwa shinobi. Even Akeno created the terrifying illusions of souls leaving the lake. Yelled Naruto Picking up the boy, he flipped him wildly in the air before crashing him flatly on the ground. A crunching sound was heard marking the cracking of Yahiko's nose. Conan gasped in horror as Naruto brutally started kicking Yahiko in the sea. The bastard didn't even stop when Yahiko coughed B. Her fists clenched shut and she moved forward only to feel a firm hand grip her shoulder. She yanked to her side and saw Daibatsu shaking his head. The bulky ninja's grip on her was tight. Conan helplessly watched her other team members make no move to stop this tea. Naruto didn't relent, as he beated Yahiko black and blue. Even sent a tooth flying. Yahiko looked nearly when Naruto stopped and grabbed the B-boy by his N. You call yourself a shinobi. A defender of your nation. A protector of your comrades. Don't screw with me, you're a disgrace. You risked the mission, endangered your comrades and your nation. You're weak, and the weak don't deserve to live, said Naruto coldly, grabbing a kunai from his pouch. The weapon headed straight for Yahiko's heart only for a firm hand to stop the attack. Another hand was placed firmly on Naruto's shoulders. He looked up to see Nagato standing behind him shaking his head. Akeno had tears in her eyes as she held the kunai, preventing it from piercing Yahiko's heart. Let it go, Naruto. Please, pleaded Akeno. They saw him seethe, his eyes raking over the entire team who silently made the same plea. As team leader he had the authority to K anyone who endangered the mission or his soldiers. Hanzo had given him that power. And none of them could accuse him if he did K Yahiko. Even the orange-haired boy had resigned himself to his fate and lay slumped on the ground now. Naruto roughly shook his friends away from him, his desire to vent his pent-up anger clearly visible in his eyes as he looked at the crying Yahiko on the floor. This is what it means to be a shinobi. All of us are hired tools, expendable pawns, we don't have any honor or deserve mercy. Being a shinobi doesn't mean to protect, but to maim, to inflict pain, suffering, carnage and death on everyone and everything you are ordered to. If you are true ninja of then this is what it's going to take to make sure your weak nation survives this war. This is just the start, said Naruto harshly, making his comrades flinch. He stepped over the Yahiko looking him straight in the eye. You'll never be a soldier, never be strong enough to do what's needed for your nation, always be a liability on your comrades, and I won't have that. I'm putting in a request to have you thrown off the team, stated Naruto frankly, earning shocked gasps from the others. He gave them a sharp glance. We are done here. Grab your things and this trash of a ninja here, we are going back to the capital. He started walking forward, an angry yet devilish grin arriving on his lips, as he spoke. Mission accomplished. A tall woman sat atop one of the mountain peaks. Her veteran gaze still fixed in the direction where she could feel the chakra signatures of her subordinates. She could feel their horror, their sadness, Naruto's anger and Yahiko's despair. Domino Squad was a mess right now. And rightly so considering what they had just done for Am's sake. The was chilling even for an experienced ninja like Galatea, yet she had seen Naruto take the lead and make sure his soldiers carried out the duty. The boy never flinched, never hesitated, nor did he feel guilt for the cruelty he had committed. It was necessary, but that didn't mean Galatea had to like it. Much less approve it. Still, for Am to survive, this had to be done. She willed her chakra to flow freely, making the never-ending rain to fall far away from her body. Carefully she took out a black book in which were marked the photographs of the entire team along with the confidential information. The names were not mentioned, and now it was her task to evaluate these ninjas as well as assign them codenames for future missions. Kyusuke, midget. A shinobi with potential but lacks confidence, possesses ability to follow orders. Dangerous with suit and ninjutsu and weapons. Daibutsu, heavy. A stone-cold warrior who can get the job done. Nasty with his staff and possess great physical prowess. Taijutsu is dangerous, rest of the skills are average. Yahiko, bait. Has some potential but lacks the willpower and mental strength. Good with Suten and Kaiten, loyal to Am and his comrades. Needs to be reviewed. Conan, angel. The second strongest on the team and has leadership capabilities. Great with ninjutsu and genjutsu, weak at taijutsu. Can fill up the role of squad leader in the event the current 1S or turns traitor. Nagato, Echo, S with fuinjutsu and ninjutsu. Loyal to his team but more so towards his best friends. A true shadow of the squad leader, needs to be kept under strict observation at all times until loyalty to Am is confirmed fully. Akeno, suck up. A fine kunoiki with lethal genjutsu skills. Average with ninjutsu and taijutsu, but her medical skills are off the charts. Important for the squad since she is the only medic, carries feelings for the squad leader but seems loyal to Am. Further surveillance required until necessary. Naruto, Fives. The codename fits him being the only member on the team that can counter against all 5 elemental ninjutsu, not to mention carries enough hatred in his heart for the great 5 villages. A true Black Ops soldier in all aspects and rumored to be a Zeus demon. Never likes taking prisoners until ordered to do so. Useful as an asset, but can never be fully loyal to Am. Must be kept under observation every second. Galatea closed the black book, her observations clearly noted in neat handwriting. Only 2 people in the country had access to this sensitive information apart from her, one being Hanzo himself and the other Mifune, the leader of their ally, the Samurai Nation. She was quite interested in the way Domino Squad was going to turn out. It was fair to say they were yet to trust each other fully, and everyone except for Nagato and Akeno hated Naruto at the moment. Not that the rogue Uzumaki gave 2s about anyone's opinion. Still, he knew how to get results. After what had happened tonight, it would at least take Iwa some time to think of another incursion. If there was one at all, once the Rock Village learned the horrors inflicted on their soldiers in the cursed land of Am, the Tsuchikage would have his religious fanatics begging to stop the invasion. It would give Am the time to make further preparations if Iwa still pursued their hostile actions. Attacking Iwa was out of the option. Not only would it provoke a major village, but might also unite the religious fanatics and give the Tsuchikage valid reason to destroy Am. Their only option was to hold their cards close and only move when Iwa did the same. Naruto stared at the stains of B still etched on his hands. Contrary to what most people thought, revenge was satisfying. At least for him. There was nothing right or wrong left in this F-up world. The Iwa shinobi in that brutal manner made him happy. The suffering he had inflicted was only in return for what they had selfishly done to Izu when his nation had never made any move to threaten the stone village. They deserved everything he had done and would do to them in the future. But nothing could compare to the hatred he felt for Konoha and Fire Nation. The allies who betrayed his village and his people. Of all the things in the world he hated the most, Konoha and its people topped the charts. At least the other villages never shied away from their war crimes, but Konoha always advised others for peace while pursuing war from the other hand. They were the ones provoking Sand by stealing their business and ninja contracts, the ones who regularly carried out raids on Kiri's supply lines, imposed sanctions on Iwa, and dominated many smaller villages. The only village that Konoha didn't interfere with was Kumo, and that was only due to the powerful Raikage and their ninja forces which were higher in number. And finally he had gotten the chance to inflict his revenge. Staring at the note he had received from Hidden made him extremely happy. His minions were useful, more than he had initially thought. The teams he had sent with different objectives were making progress. Akatsuki now had 3 bases, one in Kusa, one in Am, and one in the border between Suna and Konoha. Finances and arms were coming by a little slowly, but he had time. Apparently, his top minions had managed to recruit nearly 100 bandits and few low-level rogue shinobi from different villages. While only useful as cannon fodder, he would have to personally make sure that only those that could remain loyal to his organization survived. The rest would have to be purged. By blowing away the dam precious to Suna, and attacking outposts of Konoha near the same border, he had finally ignited war between the two nations. And Konoha was about to launch a sizable invasion force to cripple Suna's frontal forces. I can't have that. Suna is crucial for my revolution, thought Naruto seriously. He glanced back at his squad who were taking shelter in a broken house. Nagato had lit a small fire in the center and the others were circled around it, soaking the heat in this cold weather. Akano was nursing Yahiko's wounds, Konan was seething in a corner, Daibutsu and Kyusuke were chatting with Nagato. Naruto didn't know why, but the scene felt hollow to him. Something which he would forget easily, even the people. His actions with Yahiko had earned him the ire of even his best friends, both of whom had chosen to leave him alone for a while. Or more, he didn't know. But he knew it was the right thing to do. Yahiko was a threat not only to himself but to the survival of the team. If Domino Squad was going to be sent on high-risk missions like the last one, then he had to toughen up. And Naruto hated ninjas who swear to do everything to protect their nation, only to have morals get in the way of fulfilling the same noble oaths. It was hypocrisy at its best. It were times like these that made him yearn for Izu. His revolution and revenge were all the reasons he had left for living, and despite Akano as well as Konan's best efforts, he simply couldn't feel the same love or affection for Am. Or its citizens. And after his latest stint he doubted. Squad leader. He turned around and was surprised to see Yahiko standing behind him. The boy's bee had stopped thanks to Akano's efforts, but he still sported dark bruises on his face which would take a week to fade at the least. Behind him stood both Konan and Akano. The two girls shared the same disapproving looks, only to flinch when he glared at them. "Leave us," ordered Naruto. "But," protested Akano. "Now," hissed Yahiko, much to Naruto's surprise. The girls gave the injured boy angry glares before reluctantly going back towards the house. He raised an eyebrow when Yahiko knelt before him and lowered his head in shame. Judging from the look on the boy's crestfallen face was enough to make Naruto stop from showering more snide remarks. "I failed everyone and I accept my mistake. But I don't want to be thrown off the team," said Yahiko honestly. "What makes you think I'm going to change my mind?" asked Naruto tersely. "I don't know. All I do know is that I want to serve my nation, protect my teammates. I don't want to be this weak ever again. I nearly got Nagato K," confessed Yahiko remorsefully, a tear falling from his eye. Naruto used the chance to sneak a glance into the emotional boy's mind. He saw brief glimpses of Yahiko burying his own father, an ailing mother and a younger brother he supported through his meager salary as a ninja. The boy was quite poor. If the fighting in this world doesn't stop, then I'll forcefully do so by becoming the god of this world. Naruto froze. His quick stroll through the boy's memories had brought him to a memory of Yahiko wearing his brand new ninja headband and standing before his father's grave. There was a dream in the boy's eyes, the determination to change the world, for he too had suffered the pain. Yahiko dared to look back at the boy after a few moments of silence, only to see Naruto's gaze fixed towards the ground. A strange look present in his usually cold eyes. What do you truly desire, Yahiko? Asked Naruto quietly. To provide for my family, protect my nation. But most of all I want peace in this world so people can live their lives happily, confessed Yahiko, and saw Naruto smile briefly. You're naive. Yahiko frowned. The girls had warned him that this would be a waste of time, but he had not believed them. Maybe Naruto really was AS. But you have spirit. And with those cryptic last words, Naruto got up and walked away, leaving behind an extremely frustrated and worried Yahiko whose fate remained as uncertain as it was before this conversation. Domino Squad stood at attention, their eyes up front as the gaze of their leader proudly rested on them. You did well. Am is proud to have soldiers like you, congratulated Hanzo, and looked towards Naruto first. You delivered on your promise. Since you are not my ninja, I can only reward your bravery and leadership in other way. Ask what you want, offered Hanzo graciously. Galatea didn't miss the stiffening of the soldiers, or the panic in their eyes as they subtly traded glances between Yahiko and Naruto. The orange-haired boy remained stoic, yet a bead of sweat rolled down his forehead. I want to nominate Yahiko as squad leader. In my absence or in the event of my death, I would like him to take command of this squad. Hanzo easily noticed the shocked looks on the faces of all the squad members. Yahiko even had his mouth open and his lips trembled. They tried to contain their emotions, but it was obvious to see this was not expected. The leader of AM looked into Naruto's eyes and the boy never wavered. His steely gaze matched Hanzo's stare proudly and confidently, and in those eyes Hanzo saw that Naruto was not joking. Very well. From this day forth, Yahiko shall be the deputy squad leader and your second in command. I am also making you the captain of this squad from now on, and expect great things from someone of your talent, Uzumaki Naruto, declared Hanzo. Yahiko remained still. He saw Naruto give Hanzo a nod, then the boy turned towards him and with a soft smack on the head made him bow towards Hanzo. The rest of the squad followed suit. Hanzo and Naruto exchanged a brief nod before the boy turned into smoke and went out of the window. The leader of AM commanded the squad to rise back and got up from his seat. Looking at these young soldiers gave him hope. They were the best AM had to offer. One glance in Yahiko's direction was enough to show the boy was not completely ready for the role he was offered. Far from it. But he had that spark. That fire that could pull soldiers through the most gruesome situations. The boy only needed a chance and proper guidance. Something Naruto had decided to give to him. Hanzo didn't know whether to be impressed or be threatened by Naruto Uzumaki. He was a soldier, a spy, a leader, and most of all he had the power of looking through people. Literally, in fact, if Galatea's observations were anything to go by. And Hanzo couldn't help but feel that someday that boy was going to do something big. What the hell was that? Akeno voiced the question that was on everyone's mind. All of them stared at each other and then at Yahiko, who was still in shock over his promotion. You can never tell when it comes to Naruto, said Nagato with a sigh. Is he always this unpredictable? Asked Kyusuke curiously. Most of the time, replied Nagato. Conan turned towards Yahiko and looked the boy right in the eye, which made him gulp. What did you two talk about? Asked Conan bluntly. Nothing. I asked him to reconsider his decision and give me a chance. He mocked me again, but just before walking away he said I had spirit. I don't understand, confessed Yahiko, a frown arriving on his face. Were you distressed or emotional while talking to him? Asked Nagato suddenly. Yeah, I guess, answered Yahiko confusedly. Why was this important? He simply couldn't understand. Daibatsu didn't miss the recognition in Nagato's eyes as the boy and Akeno exchanged knowing looks. They were surprised when the rest of their teammates were looking at them pointedly. Well, you obviously know what happened. Or have a theory, said Daibatsu seriously. Akeno fidgeted nervously. Nagato his temple and gave out a tired sigh. Looking at the pointed looks he was receiving from the others made him realize that he couldn't hide this anymore. Not when Naruto had already given him hints about his powers as well as used them in battle. Naruto can look into people's minds, especially when their emotions are out of control. He must have seen brief glimpses of some of your memories, and something made him change his decision. You have to understand, this was unusual even for him. Naruto is never one to be merciful or offer pity. Yahiko, there must have been something truly strong in your memories that made him change his mind, explained Nagato honestly. Yahiko was stunned. He saw through Yahiko's mind. Wait, does that mean he can see through ours too? Asked Kyusuke in panic. This is dangerous, muttered Daibatsu. He had no right to do that. He may be squad leader, but our memories are our personal property, snarled Konan, her fists clenched shut. Akeno was about to defend the actions of her best friend when Konan swiftly turned and started marching back towards Hanzo's chambers, only to stop as Yahiko's hand gripped her shoulder firmly. Surprised, she turned towards her friend to find a determined look in his eyes. I'll handle my own affairs, Konan, said Yahiko directly. But, she protested. Thank you for your concern, he replied gently, before removing his grip, and after a curt nod to the others he simply walked away. Nagato also left without a word, with Kyusuke and Daibatsu following his lead, leaving the two girls to stare at each other's faces. Akeno offered a tired smile to her teammate. Boys are crazies, muttered Konan, with a faint smile of her own. Trust me, you'll get used to his antics over time. He's not a bad person, Konan reassured Akeno, and saw the other girl frown. I just can't understand what goes through his head. As a ninja I can trust him to have my back, but as a friend, said Konan hesitantly. Is that what you two are? Friends? Asked Akeno carefully, drawing Konan's attention to the silver hair girl. Konan smirked a little. For now, I guess. Akeno gave a tight nod, all the while Konan enjoyed the series of emotions that flickered through the silver-haired girl's eyes. Konan had to admit, Akeno was beautiful. Both in looks and personality, she had that bright spark. The light that could fill the dull life that people like her and Naruto lived. But she doubted Naruto was even aware that people could afford to be worthy of someone's affections. However, being abandoned by his own family made him run away from getting attached to people. The fear of being abandoned again terrified Naruto. It was sad. Want to have some food? Asked Akeno silently, making Konan raise a surprised eyebrow. With me? You sure? Said Konan frankly, and grinned when Akeno shrugged. The Uzumaki girl smirked and passed beside Konan, but the few words she whispered made Konan's cheeks flush crimson. I can deal with some compion. With that, Akeno was gone, and Konan had no choice but to follow after the girl. Her blush was easily visible, her lips trembled both in surprise and irritation. Of all the things in the world, she definitely didn't like Uzumaki Naruto. Didn't she? Next day, Naruto aimlessly walked through the streets of Am with no particular destination in mind. Since he had only a few hours left before his departure and wanted to avoid his friends, he found himself taking a simple stroll through the capital. His thoughts were drifting towards the upcoming conflict between Konoha and Suna, and how Akatsuki would play a role in it. He may have started this war with the help of his friends, but now that Nagato and Akeno had a future in Am, it was not right to put their lives in danger. Still, leading Akatsuki alone was a huge burden and kept him tense all the time. He couldn't afford mistakes. He was going to need a clear mind for his upcoming mission, and he knew only one that could help him be ready. Naruto placed his hand on the building's door, taking in the shady groups of people in the area. Starting with petty thieves lurking in the shadows, and drug dealers selling to addicts in the corners, prostitutes also freely roamed in this part of the capital trying to woo potential customers for business. This was not a place where most people would feel comfortable in, but he was far from normal and felt quite comfortable here. He saw a few men glaring at him with envy as he entered the most expensive pleasure shop in Am. He bit back a chuckle on even imagining the look on Akeno's or Konan's face if they saw him in this place. Maybe he should take pictures, it would be quite fun. As he walked towards the reception, he saw an attractive brunette sitting at the desk. She had a nice body and gave him a welcoming smile. Welcome to Azure, how may I help you? She asked sweetly. His eyes glanced across her nametag stating, Arki. Obviously a fake name, but not his business, so he smiled pleasantly back at her. Well, I just need to have some good time. Think you can arrange that? Asked Naruto casually. Then you've arrived at the right place, sir. Here are our list of professionals that can cater. He see her short by placing quite a large bundle of cash at her desk, enough to make her eyes go wide. Am was a poor nation where resources and wealth were a scarcity, and he was charging Hanzo quite a large fee for every hour he stayed in Am. His services were far from cheap, but Hanzo paid for them willingly, knowing he was getting more from the deal in the end. The M of the year were accompanied by a small squad, a proof of that. I need your best, he started directly. Of course, sir. I assure you that our professional will not disappoint you at all, said Aki dreamily, as she took the large bundle of Ryo. The sheer amount being more than what the poor girl would be making in the entire year. It was S-World indeed. He smiled and allowed the girl to lead the way. Maybe just for a few hours he could be a normal person enjoying the brief time of his life instead of being the freak he was. After climbing 2 floors, Aki brought him to the doorstep of a room. He could see lights of different colors burning inside from the small gap beneath the door. Aki opened the last hurdle of wood, and Naruto was not at all disappointed when a stunning blonde appeared before him. Easily in her early 20s, the woman had a highly curvaceous body and a K-rack. Not to mention an A which most women would K for to have. The next few hours were sure going to be fun. Few hours later. Unlike the rest of his team who were enjoying their free time, Yahiko was busy searching for his mysterious team leader. Naruto Uzumaki was a mystery to him, a ninja who Yahiko admired and was scared of at the same time. Despite his pathetic performance in the first mission, Naruto had given him a chance. An opportunity to prove himself and be of use to his nation as well as his family. The entire squad had expected Naruto to throw Yahiko off the team, but here he found himself to be the next in line to be the next squad leader of Domino. Yet deep down Yahiko knew he was not ready. He was yet to overcome that final threshold that separated him from the other soldiers on his team, and he had to cross that. Or else he would just remain useless and get his friends K. And that was unacceptable. He had already searched through most areas of the capital, even went to Naruto's apartment, but the older boy was not there. Lack of options brought Yahiko to the red light district. He doubted he would find Naruto in such an area. The words S in his tea when he saw Naruto exiting from the most expensive brothel in the capital with a goofy grin on his face. Somehow it made him appear younger than he was. However, his smile S when he saw Yahiko gaping at him in shock. Yahiko clenched his jaw shut quickly when the older boy narrowed his eyes and approached towards him. What the hell are you doing here? Asked Naruto flatly. I was looking for you. I wanted to thank. Yahiko was stopped when Naruto chuckled, which soon turned into a mocking laugh. He flinched when the squad leader gave him a mocking look. Thank me. The only reason you're worthless A is still on the team and received a promotion is because I want you to fail. I want you to realize how useless you are when you get one of your team members K, replied Naruto heartlessly. Shoving the naive boy out of his way, he started walking away. You're not a great A. Naruto paused, his jaw clenching shut. What the hell was wrong with this boy? After everything that had happened, Yahiko should have an iota of sense and stay away from him. Yet the orange-haired boy stepped in front of him. The Uzumaki stopped breathing when Yahiko knelt in front of him. I don't care whether you gave me a chance to watch me fail or succeed, it doesn't matter. At first I didn't understand what threat my nation actually faces, but now I know. And I don't want to watch my home, my people burn to death, said Yahiko sincerely, keeping his head bowed for fear of looking the older boy in the eye. It might just crumble the little courage he had mustered in his heart. You're weak and naive, said Naruto flatly, and was surprised when Yahiko nodded. Yes, that is why I want you to teach me how to be like you. This time Yahiko looked up and found he had managed to surprise the redhead boy this time. There was a strange look in Naruto's eyes as he stared at Yahiko. Why would someone like you want to be like me? Asked Naruto curiously. You're the ninja my country needs in this hour of need. I want to protect my nation by becoming that, answered Yahiko honestly. And why the hell would I even dream of helping you? Asked Naruto seriously, looking the boy straight in the eye. Yahiko paused, his mind racing through millions of thoughts, but in the end his desire to protect his nation overcame all other feelings as he looked into Naruto's eyes. I don't have any money or power to offer you. All I have is my ability to fight and my loyalty. I can only offer you that, said Yahiko sincerely. Naruto stared at the sky. The look in Yahiko's eyes reminded him of the gaze of a young boy who had offered the same thing to Rakage years ago. In exchange for a reason to exist, to find his place in this cruel world. Turning this boy away would be so easy, and yet. My path is not for the weak or the naive. And don't pledge something noble like loyalty so easily, scolded Naruto, and saw Yahiko smile. Stop trying to make me give up, said Yahiko seriously. I will believe and follow you, Uzumaki Naruto. Yahiko looked up to see a sea of pain and sadness lingering in Naruto's eyes as he stared off in the far distance. Before Yahiko wouldn't have realized this look, but after fighting alongside him he could understand just what pain burned in this boy's heart. Why he was so angry when Yahiko failed in his task, all of that made sense to Yahiko now. I won't let Am fall. Naruto's eyes slightly widened when he heard those words. Looking down he saw a sea of pure determination and courage burning in Yahiko's eyes. It may be just the rains messing with his vision, but were Yahiko's eyes shining? He lightly smacked the younger boy on the head and started walking away. Meet me at the southern gate before sunrise tomorrow. We'll see just how far you are willing to go in order to be a true soldier and protect Am. With those words, Naruto was gone, leaving behind a smiling Yahiko. He finally had a chance. Next day, in the darkness of the night, Yahiko calmly marched towards the southern gate. Dressed in mercenary armor and donning a demon mask, he was no longer a loyal ninja of Am. The sky was pitch dark, the rains falling relentlessly from the sky as he reached his destination. He checked the tanto and the army of weapons he was carrying before turning his gaze towards the wristwatch in his hand. There was still an entire minute. This time he didn't flinch when Naruto manifested beside him from the shadows. The older boy also dressed in the same outfit and his face covered by a demon mask. You understand that this is not some official mission for Am? Asked Naruto sternly. Yes. So what do you expect from this mission? Demanded Naruto, his cold gaze boring into Yahiko's very soul. To become strong like you. To do anything possible for the safety of my nation, answered Yahiko faithfully, his eyes shining fiercely in the dark night. Oh, not bad. Yahiko shivered when a sinister smile arrived on the older boy's face. Despite the demon mask covering his face, a single look in Naruto's eyes was enough to show the boy was smiling. I'll guide you then. If you betray me or fail in the task assigned to you, I'll kill you, promised Naruto icily. Understood, Captain, replied Yahiko confidently, holding back his tension deep inside his heart. The Uzumaki glanced at Yahiko's masked face, staring deep in the younger boy's eyes for a few long moments before nodding and starting to walk ahead. Then welcome to the Akatsuki. One of the Uzumaki's eyes turned red and he couldn't stop his dark chakra from leaking as an exciting feeling was born in his heart. With each step he took forward, he felt himself getting closer and closer to Konoha. The village which had ruined his people, but it didn't matter now because the time for revenge had arrived. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.